In a single night, one man held the fate of all humanity in his hands. A decision made in less than 5 minutes marked the line between life and apocalypse. His name? Stanislav Petrov. You've probably never heard his name. But if he hadn't been there, on that night in 1983, you, me, and everyone you know might never have existed. This is the story of the man who refused to start a nuclear war. The story of an era that almost ended civilization, and of a single human mind that saved it. It was 1983. The Cold War was at its most dangerous point. The United States and the Soviet Union were staring at each other across the world, like two armed predators waiting for the other to blink. Each had thousands of nuclear warheads ready to launch. Every radar blip, every flicker of light was a potential signal of the end. Don't forget to leave a comment about your opinion. And if you want to help me be more motivated, you can leave a like and a subscribe. Have a nice look. In Washington, President Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union the evil empire. He announced the Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars, a missile shield in space that the Kremlin saw as a direct threat. In Moscow, paranoia grew. Soviet intelligence believed NATO was preparing to strike. A massive military exercise, Able Archer 83, looked to them like a real nuclear attack. The world was one misunderstanding away from annihilation. And then came the night of September 26, 1983. Deep beneath the ground in a secret command center outside Moscow, a Soviet early warning base called Serpukhov 15 kept silent watch. Rows of monitors, maps glowing in the dark, men in uniform staring at the screens. Their job to monitor the satellite system known as OKO, the Eye, built to detect any American nuclear launches in real time. That night, the officer in charge was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, 44 years old, calm, analytical, skeptical by nature. He wasn't a hero, at least not yet. He was an engineer, a man of logic, someone who believed in reason more than blind obedience. At 12:15 a.m., the silence broke. A siren blared. Red lights flashed. On the main screen, one message appeared in giant letters. Launch detected. U.S. missile inbound. Petrov froze. The protocol was simple and absolute. Confirm the attack, report immediately, and within minutes the Soviet Union would retaliate with hundreds of nuclear warheads. But something felt wrong. One missile. That made no sense. The United States would never start a nuclear war with a single missile. Then, another alert. A second missile. A third. A fourth. A fifth. 5 American nuclear missiles, the computer said, were on their way to destroy the Soviet Union. The men in the bunker looked at Petrov. No one spoke. Every second stretched into eternity. If Petrov followed protocol, the Kremlin would launch its own counterstrike. If the system was wrong, that counterstrike would destroy the world. Petrov's hands trembled slightly. He knew the radar on the ground hadn't confirmed anything yet. It was too early. All they had was the satellite system, and he knew it was new, untested, imperfect. He stared at the data. It looked too perfect, too clean. An attack wouldn't look like that, he thought. It would be chaos, not order. And then he made his decision. He picked up the phone and said quietly, "It's a false alarm." He hung up and waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. No explosions, no missiles, no war. The system had been fooled. Sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds had tricked the satellite's infrared sensors into thinking it had seen missile launches. A reflection. That was all. A reflection almost destroyed the world. But because of one man's skepticism, one refusal to follow a machine blindly, it didn't. In the days that followed, there were no celebrations, No medals, no public thanks. Petrov was reprimanded for not filling out his logbook properly. The incident was classified as top secret. Even his own wife didn't know what he had done. Years later, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the story came out. Journalists called him the man who saved the world. When asked about it, Petrov simply shrugged. "I was just doing my job," he said. "I couldn't start a war because of a computer error." He lived modestly, quietly, in a small apartment near Moscow. In 2004, he was honored at the United Nations and received awards from peace organizations. When handed the trophy, he smiled shyly and said, "It wasn't me who saved the world. The world just got lucky." In 2017, Stanislav Petrov passed away alone in his apartment. For months, no one even noticed. When the news finally reached the West, a few headlines appeared. "The man who saved the world has died, but his legacy is larger than the words on a screen." Petrov wasn't just a soldier. He was the thin line between human reason and mechanical fear. Today, Petrov's name rarely appears in history books, yet his decision is regarded by historians as one of the most significant individual actions in human history. One man, in one night, inside a bunker, chose to believe in reason, not in machines. He chose to listen to his instincts and his humanity, not the cold protocols of a military system. In a world obsessed with power and fear, Stanislav Petrov proved that sometimes the bravest act of all is not to press the button. And perhaps, without even realizing it, he saved the world. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more documentaries about the people and moments that changed history. Quietly. Because sometimes those who save the world leave no trace of a hero.